Welcome learners, I am Ritika Dabas and I am a teacher educator, and today we will be discussing on inculcating reading habits. It is very important to understand reading habits in the child, as this inculcates positive imagination, creative thinking in the child and makes the brain more active. These good habits will help children become stronger readers and students. The first step in developing positive reading habits with your child. Now, how to create reading environment in school? Creating reading environment in school is a big question. Now, the principal and teachers both have the responsibility of creating reading environment in school. Principal and teachers, they must understand impact of reading on student achievement, importance of reading culture. School should provide the library services and its resources. Next is displaying quotes about reading in school corridors. This will develop reading habits in children, as you can see that different quotes the children will read and these will help them to understand the importance of reading. A home without books is like a tree without birds. A reader lives in 1,000 lives before he dies. The man who never reads lives only one. A book is a gift you can open again and again. Displaying notices of reading events, challenges or incentives in school, visiting authors, book awards or awarding the best story written by children. The schools can organize different reading events and these can be displayed on the notice boards of the schools. These will encourage children to participate and develop their reading skills. The schools can display photos of children reading, staff reading and other reading role models. As you can see in the picture, the children are reading books. The next is principal's recommended book of the week. This strategy can be a very good in developing reading skills. In your school corridors and notice boards, you should display signs pointing to the library, footprints heading in that direction, how many steps to the library. Notices with the library or opening hours and students on duty in the library. The library quiz of the week. Information about new books coming to the library and events coming up. So, library as a resource can be very useful in developing reading skills. Ensuring the library in the school. First and foremost, it is more important that library exists in the school. The library which is there in the school is well resourced and well used for events. It is also important that teachers collaborate with the librarian and the library is used as an essential resource for literary programs and initiatives. Inculcating love for reading among students. For inculcating love for reading among students, it is more important that the student should read and with the student the teacher should also read. So, first the teacher should read herself. If we want our children to develop reading habits, then we must read ourselves and they must see us reading. Read not only for pleasure but also to gather information, knowledge, understanding instructions and even connecting with others. When the children see us reading, they too will develop these habits and start reading themselves. So, lead by example. Our children pick up most of their habits from us and it is therefore very important as teachers to be careful to inculcate positive attitude towards children and towards important habits such as reading, literacy and acquiring knowledge. Discuss what you have read. First, the children are reading and with them the teachers are also reading. Teachers have their experiences in reading. So, the teachers should discuss what they have read. Discuss with the child what he or she is reading. It may not only be storybook always. Generally, teachers focus on storybooks, but besides the storybooks, the teacher can also focus on different events they have read about, see what the child likes to read, particular genre or author and encourage or her to cultivate it. Develop the culture of discussion in groups in the classroom to broaden the child's understanding. Develop positive environment in the class so that the child feels free to ask questions related to what he is reading. Share your experiences about reading. Discuss about books and magazines that you have read. Discuss how the books, characters, authors influence the lives of young people and how it shapes the ideas of the individual. Encourage your child to read books and articles in his or her native language. This helps them to develop their cultural identity and also builds strong language skills. If reading skills are developed in the native languages, they will automatically transfer into English. Although it is a misconception that if the child is reading in native language, it may hamper his learning of English, but that is a myth. Let your children choose. Let them choose what they want to read. Initial monitoring of the content to be done by the teacher. Instead of dictating what to read, let your child choose his or her own reading material. As a teacher, it is very important to still keep an eye on the reading level of the child, but do not force the child the concepts what you think he or she should be learning. Let your child choose his or her own reading, his or her own reading material, and be sure to be there to support them if they need your help. Reward them. Keep a visible record of achievement of the child, as this is a very successful way to motivate your child to develop reading habits. Teacher can develop games out of the books that the child has to read by deciding on the number of books he or she has to read to reach the top position. The game can include all the students of the class and will also help in making reading a shared experience for the whole class. This method can also be used to introduce your child to different genres of books. Go beyond books. Books are not the sole thing which the child should read. The teacher should encourage them to go beyond books. Development of reading does not necessarily have to come only from reading books. Make the child take note of small information on the notice board. Encourage them to read advertisements. Ask them to read banners and other boards they see while coming to school. Use drama. Children love nothing more than acting and trying out different roles. If your child is a reluctant reader, then encourage him or her to play a character from a fictional tale, as this may help to motivate them to read a text. As a habit, reading has to be developed consciously by the parents and teachers during the early years of child. Once this habit is inculcated, then children tend to further develop tastes, preferences, genres and authors on their own. Once your child understands the connections between reading and other wider historical, political context of reading, they will gradually develop love and appreciation for reading. Reading for pleasure. Now there are two different aspects, reading for pleasure and reading for knowledge. Here we are discussing on reading for pleasure. Christina Clark and Kate Rumbold note that reading for pleasure can be described as an act of play, which allows us to experience different worlds in our imagination and a creative and active interactive process. Reading for pleasure means any reading that is primarily for enjoyment. It encompasses a wide range of genres and publications and includes both fiction and non-fiction. Reading for pleasure means voluntary reading and choosing what to read, either during school time or in free time. It can be a powerful tool in all age groups and amongst all level of readers. For developing reading for pleasure at school, the school should appoint a facilitator to help the students, to support the students, allow children to make personal choice, make spaces, places and time for reading, have excellent book provision and displays. Conduct book talk sessions at any time. This is the teacher's responsibility to develop book talk sessions at any time in their classrooms. Read aloud the books to children. opportunities for open-ended discussion, sharing of response to be given. Increase opportunity for looking at and talking about books. Creating engaged readers involves commitment in developing a school-wide reading culture that actively encourages, supports, and models reading for pleasure. Fluent and reflective reading improves literacy, social skills, and well-being and enables independent learning. The outcomes of reading are shown more strongly if reading is enjoyable in the first instance. So, reading for pleasure is so important. Reading should not be done just in school. It needs to be a part of our everyday lives and at all ages. So, if you are a teacher, you cannot spare yourself from reading. As a teacher, you need to read regularly. Reading for knowledge. This is another aspect, reading for knowledge. Reading for knowledge is reading for just information, and reading for pleasure is oriented towards pleasure. Reading for knowledge involves reading instruction. It is learning to read, while reading for pleasure is choosing to read. Reading for knowledge or reading instruction is just a skill, and reading for pleasure is the will. Decoding and comprehension is the aspect of reading instruction, while reading for pleasure involves engagement and response. Reading instruction involves system readers, while reading for pleasure involves lifelong readers. Reading instruction involves teacher direction. Reading for pleasure involves child direction. Reading instruction involves teacher ownership, while reading for pleasure is completely owned by the child. Reading instruction leads to attainment, and reading for pleasure is achievement. Reading instruction is the minimum entitlement, and reading for pleasure the maximum entitlement. Now, how to support learners to develop their reading skills? This is again a very important duty of the teacher to help the child develop their reading skills. Reading is not simply a system of decoding words or deciphering combinations of letters on a page or screen, but an active process, and readers will have a purpose for reading. Teaching reading. Now, how to teach reading in your class? Start from where your learners are at. The teacher should identify the level of the learners. What do they feel comfortable and confident in? Reading as part of their daily lives, signs, posters, leaflets, menus, simple forms or straightforward emails, newspapers and magazines. The variety is too long. You have to discuss as a teacher all these in your group. Reading is something we all do every day. It is not just a classroom activity. All of us probably have a point where our reading skills will be challenged. So, it can be helpful for learners to seek confidence in reading as a spectrum that we are all on. Use a variety of texts to appeal to everyone, from factual newspaper articles to TV or play scripts or poetry. Whatever text you and your learners choose, discuss it first so that it has context and becomes familiar. Then anticipate difficult vocabulary and address this first. Warming up learners by introducing a text will help in better comprehension of the text, especially if it is quite challenging. Next comes group reading. This is also a strategy for developing reading skills. In group reading, the children are encouraged to read together. Reading together as a group can be very supportive and can be more beneficial than learners working alone. It can improve reading comprehension and confidence. Next is paired reading. Paired reading can also be very helpful. Children feel more confident in pair as compared to bigger groups. Choral reading and performance reading. Reading as a group can take the pressure off individuals, either following a printed text or from a slide. Teacher can use the techniques of paired reading where individuals signal if they want to read alone. Repeated reading. Reading the same passage again and again over a short period until fluency is achieved. It is a kind of skill practice. Practicing the reading skill, practicing the pronunciation of the text, this will help the child to read the text effectively. Some ideas on reading. Reading should make as much sense as listening. Understanding the text sometimes requires going beyond the text. Reading is equated to constructing a meaning, and meanings are not always similar. So, we should encourage the child to guess the meaning from the text and not always answering them, not always telling them the meanings of the words. At secondary stage, reader is not dependent upon identification of word for understanding. There might be a stage in the process of reading in which the readers employ meaning to assist in the identification of individual words. Reading would become a laborious task if the reader blindly makes effort to identify one word after another with no prior insights. Linguists have also found that reading cannot be achieved stepwise or in a structured manner. The reader's eyes may rest on one or all of the words, but brain responds to words in meaningful clusters. So, reading cannot be compartmentalized, it has to be as a whole. Slow reading is not efficient reading because it puts unnecessarily load on the memory bank and leads to confusion. Just as learners perceive spoken language by paying attention to meaning, not the sounds of the words, similarly, independent learners always try to bring meaning to print and pay least attention to individual words and their meanings. This brings our focus to the importance of the context in which the words carry messages. Explicit strategies for supporting reading comprehension skills. Less skilled readers may need help with comprehension strategies that skilled readers use automatically. Explicit comprehension strategies include comprehension monitoring. Use techniques to check understanding through questioning, asking learners to summarize sections of the text, etc. Graphic organizers use charts and diagrams, example spider diagrams and flow charts, to represent ideas and information found in text. Story structure. Develop awareness of features of storytelling including plot, characters, setting, etc. Question generating and answering. Encourage readers to make inferences from reading and to understand that some questions require background knowledge from their own experience rather than from within the text. Summarizing, identify the topic and main ideas of a text. Now, the benefits of reading. See, we have discussed regarding different skills which can be developed in the child for reading. There are certain benefits of reading also. It has been found that readers, they show high self-esteem and greater self-acceptance. Readers are more capable of planning and prioritizing. Readers show greater capacity of empathy. Readers have better understanding of other people's feelings. Readers show stronger and more engaged awareness of social issues and of cultural diversity than non-readers. Readers have more general knowledge. Readers have deeper understanding and respect for different cultures. Readers show higher levels of creativity than non-readers. Readers, they have better emotional health, empathy and well-being. So learners, we have discussed in detail regarding developing love for reading among children and other aspects to it. Thank you.